Hi, my name is Trisha Pataki and I'm a senior English major. My project is titled Benchmarks and I'm going to be talking about the purpose of benches throughout the city of Rochester. Have you ever drove around or walked through the city of Rochester and noticed all the benches in the area? They're everywhere. I began to notice the different types of benches and the areas they were in, and I wondered the stories behind those benches. Some benches are just used for decorating or landscaping purposes. This one in particular is outside of my apartment complex on East Ave. It is the first thing I see as I pull in, so in a sense, it's welcoming me home. It also invites new lessees to come in, sit down, and check out a place for a new possible home. These two benches are outside of Wegmans, next to the bus stop, which is down the street from my apartment. People from all walks of life use these benches. Every time I drive by, I see people with bags of groceries in hand. These benches are side by side, giving the person sitting on them the option to socialize. They can choose to look straight ahead and not converse with the person next to them, or they can look to their side and start a conversation. This bench is next to a newsstand, and I began to wonder how many people sat here and what headlines were they reading. Bush vows terrorist attacks to be avenged. Services set for Hamilton soldier killed in Iraq. Barack Obama elected 44th president. Did they share their thoughts with the person next to them? And these benches are perfect for communication. The people sitting them are forced to look at each other. They force you to communicate. You can't avoid the person who is directly in front of you. Now, bus stop benches. They are an interesting breed. These benches in particular are across the street from my friend's house, which is a nice house in a seedy section of the city. Bus stop benches are usually protected from the elements, but the people who sit in them have usually weathered all types of storms. The owners of this house my friend is leasing from told the girls to be careful and keep their doors locked at night because obviously there was a bus stop across the street, as if they were supposed to know what those benches at the bus stop signified. This bench is along the bus stop line as well, but this one's different. It has a horse in the background and it reminded me of our city's history. I say our city's history because I now call Rochester home. I'm originally from 2 hours east of here, but I have made roots and a home in this city. This bench made me reflect on that. And I found creativity in this bench. It made me start to think outside of the box, especially for this project. It reminded me that it's healthy to pause and laugh and smile and not to lose sight of our creativity. And this next bench is somewhat abstract, and again, it's creative. It's sitting outside a cyber cafe and bar, so it kind of reminded me of the technological advances in life. This bench is keeping us connected, much like cell phones and text messages and Facebook keeps us connected. And I'll be the first one to admit I'm guilty of keeping my phone at hand or close by at all times. And sometimes I reflect on my conversations throughout the day, and I wonder were they face to face like benches allow, or were they over the cyber world? And then I thought about who I talk to when I want to feel a connection. I am trying to answer the question that follows graduation, what's next? And I have no clue what life has in store for me, so sometimes I need a new perspective, and this log gave me a new perspective. I was able to look at it as a bench. And then I started to think about places that I have drawn inspiration from. I like to dance, and the dance studio is where I do some of my best thinking, and I wondered if this bench was a dance studio to someone else. I wondered if it supported the weight of artists or poets and who sat there and drew inspiration for their own writing. Then I started to think about places I've drawn inspiration from and how I've made those goals into something, and goals and inspirations into something concrete. And this bench reminded me of what my foundation has been. My family is the first thing I thought of. I have a very strong support system, they've been my rock, and I would like to provide the same thing for my family someday when I have one. And this bench is definitely family oriented. How fun does it look? It reminded me of a childhood show that I used to watch called The Big Comfy Couch. It's kind of a metal interpretation of that couch. It's in a family-friendly area of Rochester, so a whole family could sit on this bench for a snapshot to capture memories of childhood and parenthood. And these benches teach primary colors and what colors can be made from mixing two colors together. They look like hands and teach us how to count and to reach out to the person next to you. The seats are open and facing in different directions, teaching to be open to all kinds and to try new things and not to limit yourself in one direction. And these next benches, I sat on these for a while, and after I took this picture, Mom and her son began to play on the playground. The little boy was so excited and kept yelling to his mom, "Watch me slide and push me, Mommy." It brought a smile to my face. I wondered how many proud parents sat here and shared their stories or watched their kids play. Similar to the playground bench, this bench brings people together. Kids are excited to see Santa and climb on the bench left from the elves from the North Pole. This bench puts you in a holiday spirit, and it makes you think of the holiday memories and the spirit of giving. This bench is made to bring smiles, and it kind of makes us be better human beings. And some benches are made for waiting. I thought about the times I went holiday shopping with my dad, and he would sit on the bench, and you could barely see him behind the piles of bags, but you could not mistake the aggravated look on his face or the eye roll when you show him what you bought. And I wondered how many of those aggravated looks and eye rolls that this bench holds. And this next bench had a really heavy impact on me. If you notice, there's a wheelchair placed next to it. I watched as this man helped the woman out of the wheelchair, and it was such a process and a struggle, and I wondered, why did she move from the chair to the bench? She was so determined to do something that most of us take for granted. And some benches are old and concrete. They've been rained on, snowed on, stormed. They've also seen sunlight and gorgeous days. They're proof of weathering the elements, and they're still standing strong. A benchmark is a standard or reference by which others can be marked or judged. It is something marked with a high degree of accuracy. It is a standard or achievement. Benchmarks are a point of reference for us to reflect on and see how far we've come. The different types of benches that I've discussed were conducive for different types of situations, and I realized that I began to find the benchmarks in my life through analyzing the purpose of the benches in Rochester.